Hello everyone, my name is Brittany Lewis and welcome to this week's Paint With Me Live. I'm a professional graphic designer and illustrator, and this Sunday stream is set up so that I can work on my dream project, the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. And of course this week we're picking up with the same project, of course. So before we get into today's live stream, if you'd like to support me really quickly, any way, shape or form, the easiest way to do that is to hit the like button. That helps push this video out to more and more people so that they can also get a chance to witness the creation of this particular project. Other ways that you can support me is by visiting the links down in the description, where you'll find links to my shop and get merch and all the things, and also ways to hire me if you have a project that you think I would be a great fit for. Hey T and lady, I'm so happy to see you. I hope you guys can hear me okay. Yeah, it looks like everything's coming through all right. So yeah, this week we're starting with we're continuing with the Five of Pentacles from the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. I'm really excited about this card. I think I say that about every card that I work on. I am excited. It seems that since I've been working on this project, I've been at it for it'll be 7 years in October. So I've been at this for almost 7 years. And every card is a new experience, right? Even when I'm planning them ahead of time, even when I'm stuck and finding my way to new designs and new experiences with the cards. Each of them surprises me, right? And so this one is one that I really enjoy because I wasn't sure. I had an image in my mind and I wasn't really sure how to pull it off. But thankfully, I had some water brushes from another artist, the artist Aaron Blaze. So that helped me with the water texture at the top. And it feels very cinematic, which I'm super proud of. It is a little bit of a departure from the images that I'm generally or that I find easy to create, generally like a straight on face forward image or like some variation of that. So to have someone falling and have the water sort of look like water feels nice. Right? It feels like a win. So I'm really happy for that and excited to move forward with this. Now, I was working on this Wednesday, so if you were here Wednesday, you saw the creation of the water. There are a few things that I need to do in it. So today we may be here. I don't know how long it's going to be. We're going to be here till we can't be here no more. Right? But we're going to work a little bit on the water some more, and then I'm going to probably start with the dress of my main character. So again, I'm using a series of water brushes. I believe I got these from Aaron Blaze. I'm actually going to be working on a very brand new layer. So far, all of the water activity and things like that are happening within a couple of layers. I'm going to start a new layer just in case I don't like what it is that I'm doing. Now, for those of you who are into not graphic design, into illustration and are wondering what I'm working on, I am working in Clip Studio Paint. I'm working on a Huion tablet, and I'm using my stylus pen and glove. This is Clip Studio Paint version 1, so it's not even like the latest and greatest by any means. I think there are like 5 versions of this particular program. So I say all that to say, if you're starting out, you don't have to have like the latest and the greatest technology in order to create illustrations. All right, so with these water brushes, so yeah, I hope you guys are having a great week this week. I'm having a pretty good week. Let's see, we're coming into a new week, so I have some work. So I have a lot of projects, right? This is just one of many. I have a lot of projects, and sometimes when I have so much to do or like so many ideas floating around, one of the things that I do is to sort of break those projects into bite-sized pieces. So I've been challenging myself to take like a solid week to work on one thing, right? And then the next thing. This particular project is an ongoing one, so like no matter what's going on, I'm still working on the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. But there are other things that I want to get done and want to explore and sort of try and do all of the things. And so what I have done this past week is spent the whole week editing a vlog that I did earlier this year. So I'm almost done with that. I have like one scene left to shoot for it. It's a wrap-up scene. So that particular video, fingers crossed, will be out this week. So I've been putting it off and putting it off, and I think some part of me was like, I don't know how entertaining this will be, or like how fast or slow this will feel, or how interesting this will be to whoever watches it. But I think some part of being a creative is sort of getting out of your own way. So I'm just gonna do the best I can, put it out there, and then move on to the next thing, because I have a painting that I want to do, and I'm using this past vlog as sort of a measuring stick to see what I could do differently with a separate project, somewhat similar because it's a painting as well, but do what I could do differently to make it better, and just do it. Right. And I want to take you guys along that particular journey. So I'm really excited to see how it goes. We're gonna see how it goes, and we'll see. So be on the lookout for a new video this week. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. So the video that I'm putting together, it's gonna be a long one, but that's okay. I keep doing this. Okay, so let me be super transparent. One thing that I do sometimes, and I don't know if you guys can relate, sometimes we can have these ideas and then we start to like make not excuses, but like apologize for it. Like, oh my goodness, it's long, or oh my goodness, I'm talking 90 miles an hour, and all of these different things. But sometimes you just have to do it. So I'm catching myself in the act, because the first thing I want to say is, oh man, it's gonna be long as I'll get out. It is a long video, but you guys might find it interesting. So that particular video is like takes place over 2 weeks, and it is me putting together the painting for the Withers Museum that we did earlier this year. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited just to get it like out the way, right? You know what I mean? To get it done and get it out of the way, and so that we can move forward. So those are some of the things that I have going on. Now the next vlog that I mentioned, that one is going to be based on a self-portrait. Same situation where I'll be stretching canvas for it as well, and I will actually, because I have more time to play with it, I'll actually be showing like the actual canvas stretching process. So we'll go through that, and I'll kind of give the story about it, and it'll just be me painting. I see some videos sometimes that are like you know, that center around the thoughts that our lives are boring, so maybe we shouldn't film it, and like how to get over that particular mental hump. And so that's kind of what I'm not dealing with, but sort of what I'm navigating through, because most of my creation takes place in one of two places, and it may not, I don't know how interesting it is. It's interesting to me. So that's going to be my why. I'm going to be creating it because I want to see it. So that's what we're going to be doing, and I'm super excited about it. I'm really interested to see like how it goes, and we'll go from there. All right, so what I'm doing is kind of pulling out colors from my coins, because what I would love to do is make it seem as though these are sort of rippled in space as well. So this looks a little bit too big, so what I'll do is kind of erase it and take it back some, and then we'll take our smudge brush. But I want it to appear that these coins are above the water, right? So we have one that's underwater, and I want the other four to appear to be above water. Now the meaning of this card is sort of financial straits, financial loss, material loss, sort of having something within reach and not being able to reach it, or not being able to see a way to reach it. The original card for this was illustrated by Pamela Coleman Smith, and in it we see some people in the snow, and they're walking past a cathedral. The cathedral looks very warm. The pentacles represent the stained glass of those cathedrals, and so we kind of see these people near salvation, if you will, for lack of a better term, like near warm and safety, and sort of elevation, and all of those things, all the implied things. But they're outside, and we do not see the entrance in. So I wanted to take that, and I wanted to challenge myself to find a way to depict similar ideas, but with like a modern sort of, or just in a way that fits this project. So the first thing that came to mind was to figure out what it feels like to go through financially hard times, right? And the first thing that came to mind is that it feels like drowning. And so I wanted to kind of focus on that. And so that's what we're exploring in this illustration. Again, this is probably one of the more cinematic cards that I have in this project or in this series. And with that, I like it, right? I think the other part of working on this particular series of paintings, there are going to be 78 cards. So far there are 45 illustrations. Part of what I have to navigate is making sure that like each image speaks to the meanings of the cards, but also like they're not boring, right? So we want to make sure that they're not boring as well. So all I'm doing right now is sort of adding reflections in the water, and now again I'll use my smudge brush as well as my eraser to kind of pull back some things. So like for instance, I don't like that, it's too heavy, right? We can kind of pull some of this back a little bit. and we'll go from there and keep going, right? So hope y'all doing all right. I hope you guys are exploring new things and learning new things and taking chances on yourself. I know that it can be scary, right, when you're new at something and you're sort of just navigating life and trying new things. Maybe you don't know people who are doing the things that you want to try. And to that, I would say try anyway, right? Just kind of go for it anyway, because what tends to happen is that we'll draw our people to us. We'll draw people who have exactly what we're looking for to us. And so in that, you just have to kind of take a chance on yourself and just be okay with being new at something, right? You have to be okay with learning something. I know some people are, especially the older we get, the more uncomfortable we are with being vulnerable in a very new space. Meaning because we're of a certain age, we feel like we should know certain things already, or we should be at a certain place in our lives already. And that's not always the case. So you have to kind of have grace for yourself and grace for your situation, and just enjoy the newness. It's because in that, when we're new at something, we don't have the pressure of being perfect because we're new. Right now, if you've been working on something for 6 years, for like this one, for example, and I'm having trouble drawing a face, then I'm looking at myself crazy, right? But if you're new at drawing faces, then it's okay for them to look a little wonky. If you're new at drawing water, then it's okay for your water to look a little wonky. If you're new at whatever your thing is, it's okay to make mistakes and to stumble and to fall and to go through all of that. You just have to be okay with that part of the process. So one of the things that I thoroughly enjoy and take away from these live streams is that it forced me to sort of be vulnerable in the ugly phase of drawing. Right? That was one of the hugest hangups that I had about streaming early on, and we've been at it for about 2 years now. So that was the biggest thing, right? I was talking myself out of doing it because I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so used to sharing like the final finished product, and even if I'm showing the process, it's so sped up that you don't necessarily see the ugly part of it, or sort of like the developmental part of all of the illustrations. What is it gonna look like when I have to draw live and I can't remember where the nose goes on the face, right? Or I'm drawing this lady's face and it's looking so weird to me, or whatever the thing is. And so forcing myself, or sort of going through the motion of streaming every week, kind of forces me to get over that, you know what I mean? Because in the end, it's going to look exactly the way I want it to look. So you just have to have grace with yourself and you're part of the process, and just keep going, right? It does get a little nerve-wracking, but I think as long as we're not in our heads too much, I think we'll be okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually looking through my references, because I have a whole gaggle of references, and we'll go through them. Let me take you all the way to the beginning. That's the one I'm looking for. So this is the Five of Pentacles from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and this is illustrated by Pamela Coleman Smith. So this is going to be right below my face. This is my reference panel. So this is the card that our illustration is based on. Again, I wanted to take a slightly different approach to the same subject matter, and that is what I do with all of the cards in this deck. I will try to find or ask myself, what does this look like now, right? What was this experience look like if this was something I had gone through? And I try to translate that into an illustration. Sometimes I'm successful with it. Sometimes I have to like redraw it and regroup and come up with other things. Some cards I'm super happy with, and some cards I feel like maybe I need to go and revisit, and that's just again part of the process. So because I've been working on this for so long, one of the obstacles and challenges that I have, just sort of as a mental gymnastic kind of thing, is not comparing my process to other people, right? So we just have to again be very comfortable with where you are. Sometimes we have to have those reminders, right? Even I, after all of these years, after all of these live streams of trying to sort of share with you guys part of my process, I still have to be reminded from time to time. But this is our source material. This is the Five of Pentacles from the Rider-Waite-Smith. So if we're analyzing this card, which is basically all tarot is, or reading tarot is, you're sort of analyzing the images, analyzing your thoughts that come up as you are looking at the images, and then taking other elements into considerations, such as your numerology and your astrology and the elements and the alchemy and all those things. But if we're just taking this at face value, we are seeing what looks like a cathedral. We know that because there's a stained glass window, and in it the window is lit warmly, right? It's lit with a very warm yellow tone. Outside of that, we have a snowstorm, and then we have these two people who look like they're in dire straits. So if we are interpreting this card, we can just read what's going on in this card. Two people are walking by what looks like a very warm and safe space, but they don't have access to that because there is no door in this scene. Now, The implication is that, again, there's a door around the corner, maybe somewhere. Maybe they passed it, maybe they hadn't come up to it yet. So that implies that although maybe they're in this sort of dire straits type of situation, perhaps the salvation, if you will, maybe the helping hand is not that far away. Maybe they just have to get to it, or sort of change their perspective, or just keep going until they find it. So again, that is similar to what I wanted to do in this particular illustration. I wanted the coins and the pentacles to be within her reach, but I also wanted to channel that sort of sinking feeling, as though she's struggling, and then she's wrapped up in all of this cloth, right, that is inhibiting her from reaching these pentacles. So that's my first reference. That is where I start. And so as I go through each of the cards, I do pull the originals out. I analyze them. I also read tarot for a couple of years for people all over the world. People don't believe that when I tell them, but I read for people all over the world for a few years. And so I have my own sort of built-in knowledge base, but then I also try to dig deeper into those card meanings and into those intuitive meanings as well, so that I can come up with a different sort of approach. Now, with that, my goal is always to make unique card illustrations and unique designs. However, there are some overlap between the original source material and the things that I come up with. That's just going to happen, because for some cards the original seems to work. Right, you know what I mean? Maybe I can't come up with nothing right now, so we just keep it going. But that is my base card. Now the rest of these images are going to be images that I pulled from Pexels, and Pexels is a royalty free image site. They also have b-roll, so if you're doing videos and you need sort of that b-roll material to go into your videos, they have that as well. And so Pexels has a wealth of images that can be pulled to use in your designs, in your illustrations, as references, or as part of your designs as well. So that is my number one site for references if I do not shoot them myself. And that happens. So in the vlog that I'll be posting this week, I talk a little bit about the painting and how I kind of came up with the idea, and how I used real people as my references, and I had them pose in a way that helped me sort of compose the illustration and the image that I had in mind. And that happens. And that also is the case with the image that I'm going to be working on soon. So as soon as I get this video out, we'll start on the next thing, and then we'll continue again working on the Cosmic Aries Tarot. So the image that I'm looking for is this one. I think is the lady who's floating. I like the fact that she's in red. I took the color of the base color for my character as well. I like it. So it stands out against the blue. I didn't want to go with something like a green. I probably could have gone with like a yellow, but considering the fact that she is underwater and we want her to have like a cool tone because she's underwater, I didn't want it to be green. Right? So we're going to start to add some highlights and shadow. Now this is going to be I don't know how tricky this is going to be, because again, we want this to feel very light and floaty. I just want to pay very close attention to where my where the light is hitting our character, as well as what's in shadow. So in terms of her skin, I kind of did a good job of keeping that consistent with the reference that I created. Right, so I created a reference using the 3D models in Clip Studio Paint, but I'm going to just add some light and shadow. I'm gonna see if I have that reference closer to my 3D model so I can just use it. There we go. Oh, that's even better. Great. Okay, so we'll just use these. We'll go back and forth between this image as well as this one. Now again, this is one that I created in Clip Studio. We're gonna ignore the diver in the scene. I just kind of needed to see the water and all of that, and we're just gonna try. Right now, when I'm at this point in the illustration, I'm not necessarily reaching for perfection. There's also going to be lots of different ways to deal with this in terms of making it look flowy and adding in the shadows and all of that. I'm going to put in the baseline shadows just like my 3D model, and then I will kind of tweak it to make it look like fabric. All right, so let's give it a try. I don't know how well again this is going to work out, but we're going to do our best. What I'm going to do is select the material so I don't go outside the lines unless I'm ready to or need to. I'm going to be pulling directly from this particular model, and then we're going to go back to our 3D model, and again I'm just going to be adding the shadows in, and then we'll add sort of like the we'll add all of the nuance in terms of like how the fabric folds and all of that in just a moment. So again, I'm working on a Huion tablet, and I'm working in Clip Studio Paint version 1. I haven't thought about upgrading up until recently, and they released version 5, and I was like, okay, maybe it's time for me to start to look at what the difference is between version 1 and version 5. Of course, there's lots and lots of things that they've changed, especially with the 3D models, but one of the things that I am curious about and will probably be challenging myself to learn here soon is how to model my 3D characters in Blender. Right, so for those of you who are unaware, Blender is a free 3D model application, and in Blender you can create scenes, you can animate, you can do all of these things, and it's pretty cool and pretty useful, and it's free. Right, so I think sometimes we see so in the creative world, I'll say this, in the creative world, especially when it comes to design and pretty much design, there's one company that sort of rules them all. That is Adobe. Adobe is the industry standard. Most companies use it. When you're going to school for design, you're working in Adobe. But Adobe is not just for graphic design, they also have motion graphics, and so they have this whole ecosystem. Then you have programs such as ZBrush, which are 3D modeling applications that you can use to do the same thing. And so with that, sometimes you have this huge sort of paywall. So if you're wanting to get into design, or if you wanted to learn 3D modeling, if you wanted to learn illustration, sometimes you're hit with this big old paywall. But there are companies out there that make quality programming, right, that sort of cuts that out and at least introduces you to those modes of creativity. So for instance, Clip Studio is not free, but it is a very inexpensive application or program that you can use to draw in. But there are cheaper options. If you have an iPad, for instance, you can use Procreate. Lots of people like Procreate. There also is Affinity. Now, Affinity is a company that's been around for a pretty long time, and I have all 3 versions of Affinity, 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2 were paid versions, and they were super inexpensive. I think it was like $35 per program. There were 3 programs, and if you called them right, you might get it on sale. You know what I mean? It was really, really great when I first got into Affinity. I started with Affinity 1. I want to say 2020 is when I moved all of my design stuff over to Affinity. Affinity has since been acquired by Canva, and they have the same program. They have a newer version of it that is completely free, right? So if you're wanting to learn graphic design, now you have a free program such as Affinity, so you don't have to get into like the Adobe ecosystem unless you just want to. Now when it comes to motion graphics, which again Adobe has, you also have DaVinci Resolve, right, which is another free program. You also have Calvary, which is another free program to sort of get you into creativity without breaking the bank at first. Now you can go into Adobe, you can go into Premiere and Final Cut and all of these different things if you want to, but you don't have to. The other thing I see a lot of businesses, and we talk about this off and on, I see a lot of businesses sort of going the way of AI because whatever the reason is, right? And the argument is that there's a steep learning curve there, it's the cheaper option, whatever the case is. But again, you have all of these different things that are free. You also have tutorials. People are super generous with sharing how to do something, right? So in the video that I'm editing, I'm working in DaVinci Resolve, and I wanted to create a certain effect. I went straight to YouTube, right? I was like, how do you do such and such in DaVinci Resolve? And lo and behold, someone had a tutorial for that. So I feel like if it is something that you want to achieve, if it's something that you want to learn, there's always going to be a means by which you can do that without sort of investing a whole bunch of money into it. And it's not always necessary to do. So in my digital art journey, for example, I didn't have this Huion tablet, right? This is like I think I paid $1,200 for this tablet a couple years ago. I didn't have this $1,200 tablet at first. I had a little $50 graphics tablet, right? It was maybe an 8x10, and I connected it to my laptop, and I learned how to draw using that. Learn how to do digital art using that. Now, again, I was using Photoshop, but I was also in school, so I had the student license for that. But I say all that to say you don't have to have the best of the best in order to start. So if you're starting, I don't know, whatever it is you're starting, try to find alternate means to do it in a way that makes you trustworthy to, if specifically a business, I'll say that. If it's a business thing, find ways to sort of do things that make your business appear trustworthy, right? So for instance, I saw on Threads where there was a woman who was defending her friend. The friend had started a business and she was using AI graphics, and all of the comments, she said, were bullying her because she was using AI graphics, and so she had to shut down her business. And so and she was like, well, you can't let the internet dictate, what you do. In this particular case, because people are associating this technology with untrustworthiness, and your business is all about building trust, no matter what business you're in, it's a horrible look, right? You know what I mean? Especially when, again, there are free options. Now, again, sometimes we don't know, and sometimes when we're jumping off into these new ventures, especially in business, in art, in music, and poetry, and whatever your thing is, we don't necessarily know all of the things there is to know. But as you move forward and you learn better, hopefully you do better, right? But there are lots and lots of ways for you to create on a budget and just to kind of get started. Now, from that little $50 tablet, because digital painting was something that I really enjoyed, I upgraded. Every so many years I will upgrade. At a certain point, this one's doing pretty good. Or maybe 5 or 6 years from now, I'll upgrade this thing. You know what I mean? Because there are some things that I wish this particular graphics tablet had. I wish that it was touchscreen. I wish that there were some shortcut buttons somewhere that I could get a hold of, but it's not, and that's all good, because we're gonna keep using it because that's what I have. Right? So you want to be able to use the things that you have, but also take into consideration that you don't have to pay a whole bunch of money in order to create something or learn something or to do something. There are going to be lots and lots of people out there who are going to be super excited to show you how to do certain things. So yeah, all right, so now we're in this in our illustration. I am actually going to use the bright red for right now as a light source, but I'm just putting in the preliminary shadows because I know that her shadow, her left side is sort of in shadow, right, based on our 3D model. I'm going to do this, and then what I'll do at a certain point is I'll begin to put in midtones. And then I'll begin to put in highlights, and then we'll sort of add wrinkles and ripples and things like that, so it actually feels like she's floating in water. So as I'm taking my smudge brush and softening up some of these edges, I am taking into consideration how I want the fabric to flow on my character. So all of these things to me go into when we're doing our illustrations. You have to kind of think about a lot of different things, right? Not just the fact that we want a beautiful image, but you also have to think about how fabric flows, how light hits that fabric, right? If there's a shadow in a certain part, we have to make that consistent with the rest of it. So there's a lot that goes into illustration. To me, it's super fascinating. Lighting, especially lighting, is one of those things that I have studied off and on. Not great with. There are some artists that are amazing with creating like dynamic lighting and things like that in their characters. I do my best. For me, the main thing is to be consistent. So as long as my lighting is consistent, it doesn't have to be super like detailed or anything like that. So what I'm doing now is just putting in some shadow lines, and these might be a little bit too dark. We'll see as we move forward, but I'm also going to use our Pexels character because I really like the way that her dress looks. We'll use her as a blueprint as I begin to make these ripples and wrinkles and put like shadow areas and things like that into our garment. So here's where we are. So I know that we had some artists, young artists or new artists or old artists watching this stream. I would love to know how it's going for you guys, especially if you run a business. Now I know that because things are shifting and changing, and I think it's due to a whole bunch of things, but because the landscape of creativity is shifting a bit, I'm curious to know if you are a professional or you're selling your art, how that's been going for you. I would love to know that, right? Because I know that it has been a little bit of a challenge lately. But I think, again, as long as we're sort of continuing to move forward. So I know that this channel is one that I've had since 2013, right? Been making videos of some kind since 2013, but I have not been super consistent over that 13 years that I've been on YouTube. And in that, sometimes I wonder if I had kept going, like what would happen? What would have happened if I had continued to make process videos or continue to sort of evolve consistently? I would do a few years on and then I would like pause, for a couple years, and then I'd come back with new videos and I'd pause and come back. So doing these live streams, I know for sure has been a way for me to stay consistent and constantly put out new videos as we're streaming, because we're doing this in real time. But I always wonder, like, what would happen if I had continued. And so that is the kind of attitude that I'm taking with this tarot deck. Now, again, I started this project in 2019, so it's been almost 7 years. It'll be 7 years in October. 7 years working on this project, and the thing that kind of keeps me going is the fact that I know I haven't taken it as far as I can take it. Right? So when I'm doing illustrations and things like that, I'll stop. I usually come to a natural stopping point. Some artists always say that their art is never finished. Mine is. Right? I'll get to a natural stopping point, and there's nothing else I can do with that. And so that is kind of where I am with this deck specifically. I have not gotten to that natural stopping point, and I don't think I will until I see it printed, but that keeps me going. I want to know what's going to happen next. Right? Not from like a spoiler alert type of situation. I definitely don't want to force certain things, but I'm just really curious to know what happens, how people enjoy these cards. I want to take it as far as I can possibly take it, and sometimes that is the motivating thing that we have to use to keep moving forward. Right? Because I really want to know what's going to happen after I finish this deck. What's going to happen when I finish these 78 illustrations, 79 include, if I was to include the back design and the packaging design and all of those things. I'm just curious about it. So anytime I am sort of stuck on a card, so I'll go through a couple of emotions. Been through a lot of emotions with this particular project, but never have I been tired of working on it, but I do get stuck, right? So sometimes when I'm stuck on like an illustration and not really sure how to move forward, that gets really frustrating. But I've never sort of gotten to the point where I'm like, I ain't working on this no more. Right? Even in 2023, when I only had like one card completed for the entire year, I still was like, it was still in the back of my head, because again, I had not pushed it as far as I could possibly take it. So that is what keeps me going with this, you know what I mean? But if you are in sort of, if you're doing something, I'm really curious to know what keeps you motivated. Now, again, you guys have heard me say that motivation is one of those things that you cannot rely on, because it wanes and it fails, and we talk ourselves out of things and we get tired and we don't feel like working on it and all of these things. And then there are days when we're like having these huge creative spurts and we feel so inspired, and this card is one of those. Like, I felt so inspired and so excited to do it. And so in that, what keeps you going, right? For me, the thing is, I want to see what happens. I just want to see what happens. I want to see what happens next. That is something that I have been sort of adopting lately in terms of like moving creatively and doing things creatively. I just really curious to see like what's going to happen. And I think doing that takes a lot of the pressure off of making it perfect, of getting it done because there's this expectation that it should be done. Just kind of do it find the thing that makes it fun for you, right? Find a thing when it gets hard. Find that thing that makes it fun for you, and I think that makes a world of difference when it comes to moving forward. So I'm gonna wrap it up. It wasn't a super long live stream. I'm not here for very long these last few weeks, but it's gonna pick back up here soon, so no worries about that. But I just want to show up because this is the time that I set aside for this. And anytime we have a dream, we kind of have to make time to work on that, even if it's at a snail's pace, even if it's just a little bit by a little bit. You kind of have to carve out time, right? Even if it's 30 minutes out of the week to do that, then we have to do that. But I will be back here on Wednesday for Bring Your Own Project Live. So Wednesday, if you like a little more chill live stream where I'll be working on this exact same card, unless I have something else to do. But I'll be working on this more than likely. If you like a more chill live stream where we just kind of listen to music and co-work and study together, I do invite you to join me on Wednesday for Bring Your Own Project Live. But this has been Paint With Me Live, so I hope you guys got something out of it. I hope that you all enjoyed watching the process. If you did, please do me a huge favor and hit the like button. It helps me out so much. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, because I still have a goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers, and we're gonna get there. Right? At some point we're gonna get there. But be on the lookout for a new video that will drop this week, probably by the end of the week. And without further ado, I hope you guys have a happy, creative, and prosperous rest of the week. Peace.